What's going on, Wiz Nation? Coming back at you guys with another episode of State of the Wiz. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. I'm your host, Dcan, along with my co-host, Kjose. Kjose, if you want to go ahead and plug in DC Hoopla.
DC Hoopla, follow me on IG, follow me on Twitter, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And of course, like, share, and subscribe to State of the Wizards. We're the voices of the unheard. You know what I have to say, my dude?
What's that?
Woke up this morning, my Wizards are 9-3. My Wizards are 9-3.
Yes, sir. So the Wizards are sitting in first place, my dude. The last time you and I talked, we were on the cusp. We were getting to that point of grabbing first place. Now we are here. And obviously we have a lot to cover. We have a lot to talk about in this episode.
Right.
We're going to go down the list of things to talk about. Number one, how shocked are you to see us sit at the top of the Eastern Conference?
Very shocked, man. I didn't see this coming. And I'm going to say this. I don't think anybody in Wiz Nation saw this coming. If you did see this coming, you're lying, because I know you didn't see this coming. None of us saw this coming.
Right.
But for us to be sitting top of the East, I remember in the, I want to say the 2005, 2006 season, we were top of the East for like maybe a few days. And then, of course, we finished out fifth in the East. But we're sitting at top of the East right now, so I am shocked. Some people probably might sit there and say it's a little bit too early. Some of these games are kind of favorable, but we got to soak it in. We got to enjoy it. We're not used to being sitting at the top of the East. We're usually at the bottom of the East.
No, for sure.
So I'm very shocked. So kudos to Wes Unseld Jr. for that. He gets all the credit. We wouldn't be top of the East if it wasn't for him and getting the players to buy into what he's actually implementing.
So let's jump right in. Let's jump right into, actually, before we jump in, man, how can we forget? We got to do our normal shout out of DC Hoopla. I know you plug DC Hoopla in. If this is your first time tuning in to State of the Wizards, thank you guys for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button, comment below, like, share. Also, follow us on State of the Wizards at State of the Wizards on Twitter, State of the Wizards at Instagram. And also follow me at Wiz Takes at Wizards Mafia on Twitter. Also subscribe to Wiz Takes on Patreon, Apple, and Spotify. And if you would like to do business with us one day, if you guys want to be guests on one of our podcasts, on both of our podcasts, feel free to reach out to us in our DMs, message us. YouTube, Twitter, or IG. We'll be more than happy to work with you guys for sure. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. So when we look at our next matchup, looks like we play the Pelicans. So what are you expecting in that tomorrow. Pelicans game? I know we just beat the Magic at Orlando. What are you expecting in the next matchup against the Pelicans?
I'm expecting us actually to go 10-3. The Pelicans are 1-9 right now, or 1-10, something like that. And I know Zion Williamson hasn't been playing. I believe what I'm expecting us to do is continue to play defense. Montrez Harrell's being Montrez. Kyle Kuzma hitting three-point shots in clutch moments. The team just playing all around defense. I also expect, which this is going to lead into a conversation a little bit later in the episode, for Spencer Dinwiddie to perform like he did last night. So I truly expect us to go out there and dominate. The Pelicans are a team that's just not good. Let's just be honest with you. And I think this team is focused enough to the point that we won't fall asleep and just assume that we can just turn it on whenever we feel like it with the Pelicans. I think we're actually starting to take some of these teams that are below us a lot serious than we have in the past.
Yeah, so for sure. I mean, right now the team is without Bradley Beal. As you know, Bradley Beal's out due to his grandmother's passing. Condolences to Bradley Beal and his family. Obviously that was unexpected. But the team
Right.
has been playing well this season without Beal in the lineup. We
Mm-hmm.
played without Beal against Indiana. We won that game. Dinwiddie stepped up. I think he had a career high at 35 points.
Right.
Last game, Dinwiddie was teetering along the lines of a triple double,
Right.
and he played well along with Montrez, along with Kuz. I touched on this in my Wiz Takes podcast, where I stated that we kind of know what we're getting out of those three guys now at this point. Is that safe to
Right.
say?
Yeah, we do. Let me say this. I know in the beginning of the season, you had asked me a question far as if Kuzma is open to hit the three, would I be okay with that? And I said no. Well, now that we're 12 games in, I can say yes. I'm very comfortable with Kuzma hitting that wide open three. He's built the confidence up in me to say, okay, I'm cool with him doing that. Montrez Harrell, let's be for real. Montrez Harrell and Kyle Kuzma have been two of the most consistent Wizards players all season.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that if you take those two players away, it will have a serious impact on the team.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you take away any one of those guys, I think it's an impact to the team. You take away Dinwiddie, it's an impact. You take away Kuz, impact. Take away Trez, impact. All three of those guys together is almost like, it's almost in the Eastern Conference, it seems unfair, right?
Right.
Because you got three guys who at any given moment can turn it on.
Exactly.
And the thing is I don't think people really recognize this yet. And I know it took me a while to recognize this, but you have players that get hot. Kuzma can get hot.
Right.
Trez can get hot.
Right.
Dinwiddie can get hot. Even KCP can get hot.
Can get hot. Right.
So we got guys who can get hot at any given moment. Like it's
Right.
not just, they're role players. These guys are actually players that steps up in big moments, and at any given moment during the game, they can get hot. Now, I don't know. I think you had told me you weren't able to catch the game last night. So
Right.
Kuzma got hot. Okay. Kuzma, tallied off a stretch of 3 straight threes, and it was during a moment where we were having a hard time scoring the basketball.
Right.
So Kuzma came through in a big way last night. It was almost like you could tell we were just trying to find offense somewhere.
Right.
And Kuzma took it upon himself to hit those big shots. Now, again, I take credit in saying that I did not know that Kuzma had that in his game where he could get hot like that. I did not know that. That's one thing I didn't know about Kuzma's game. But he showed me last night, if he gets going, it's going to be a nightmare for the opposing team. And again, I don't know if many fans knew that about Kuzma before last night. I personally did not see that in Kuzma's game at all.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. Do you think he can sustain what he's doing so far this season?
I mean, sure. Like, the thing is, man, and Chris Miller pointed this out, and I have to give him credit for this because I didn't think about this. But we have a bunch of guys on this team that come from the West Coast. They come from a much superior conference. So including the coach and the coaching staff, because Wes Unseld Jr. was over there in the West Coast for the last decade. So you got to think, these guys was playing at a different level and a different pace for so many years over in the Western Conference. So they're bringing what they did over there to the East. And again, credit and shout out to Chris Miller, because I didn't think about this until last night, and he's absolutely right. sustainability is not going to be a problem if what you were expected to do over there, you're now asked to do over here. It's two totally different conferences. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to face so many challenges night in, night out in the East. And I'm almost certain that last night's game was indicative of that, playing the Orlando Magic. You know, an old Wizards team would have taken that team for granted, and we would have lost that game.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm getting out of it is that, of course, we all know that the Western Conference is much more competitive. It's much more brutal. And the Eastern Conference is kind of a little bit less competition. There's only like maybe a handful of teams that are actually pretty good. Usually it's always 3 teams at the max.
Right. I mean, the Magic is the youngest team in the league.
Right.
They started the season with the youngest team on the court. I think the average age was like 21 and up, 21
I can
plus.
believe it. So they're a team that's not really going to be that much of a threat. So I get exactly what you're saying, and shout out to Chris Miller for that, because I didn't even think about that. Which is the reason why, there's been speculation that a guy like Damian Lillard would end up on the Eastern Conference because it'll be a lot easier to get to the finals. Remember, that's always been the argument when it came down to LeBron James on how he was able to dominate in the East, because it wasn't really that much competition.
Right.
But that makes a very good, valid point. I never thought about it that way.
Right. So let's take a look at this here. So we got Ingram and Zion Williamson out. That's we already know about that. Thomas Bryant, Rui are out for the Wizards, along with Bradley Beal. Tail of the tape tomorrow. You got so you're looking at the Pelicans, who are 26th in the league in points per game. The Wizards sit at 13th. You got the Wizards at 16th in assists. Looks like the Pelicans are better, slightly better. I mean, it's pretty much the same, but they're 10th. If that tells you anything, look at the difference between 10th and 16th in assists per game. It's only a 0.5 differential.
Yeah, 0.5 difference. But with the tail of the tape, not to cut you off, what stands out the most, we're third in rebounding.
Yep. I was going to get to that. Yep.
I didn't mean to jump ahead, but we're third in rebounding. So that tells you a lot, which we've actually gotten better in that, because at the beginning of the season, we were kind of teetering like in the middle of the pack. So that number has improved. Right.
No, it absolutely has. I mean, we were 6th. I think we were 6th just before last game. We were 6th or 7th in rebounds before the Magic game, and now we jumped up to 3rd. So again, those numbers, they're just doing this as the season has progressed.
Right.
Look at that turnovers per game. Now we're 14th. We were sitting at the bottom half, I believe, before last night's game. Now we're at 14. So
we're doing
that
a better
number
job
is starting
of taking
to come down a little bit. Go ahead, sir.
No, I said we're doing much better taking care of the basketball. So, the turnovers has improved. Our field goal percentage as a team, that's improved.
Yeah, for sure. Field goal percentage has improved. Assist to turnover ratio has improved. Still shooting great from free throw. Look at us, top 5 in blocks.
Well, when you got Montrez Harrell and you got Daniel Gafford blocking shots, I mean, what more do you even need to ask for? I can't recall this team ever being top 5 in blocks ever.
Right. And the 3-point percentage stands out. 19th in the league right now. We're again, the numbers are just going up. And right now, we're not a great 3-point shooting team, but I must say, it's crazy how Wes Unseld Jr. has literally turned this team identity around so fast, so quickly.
Right.
I mean, man, we are literally top 15 or top 20, top 10 offense, top 10 defense. But some of these other things are not too far behind.
Right.
So on paper, this Pelicans game looks like it's a win.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a game we should take care of, just like the Magic, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, by looking at the stats, I don't see why the Pelicans are, why we don't have them shooting like 30 something percent, finishing the game shooting below 30, at least below 40%.
Right.
So I feel very confident that we will win tomorrow's game and be, 10-3.
Look at this, my dude. The Washington Wizards are 9-3 this season. They are first in Southeast Division and first in the Eastern Conference. I mean, man, if that don't put a smile on your face, man.
Again, I'm gonna say it. If anybody say that, oh yeah, I saw this coming, you're lying.
Did not. There's no
You're
way.
lying.
There's no way.
And I know there are going to be some that say, "Oh, I believe this." No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Stop lying.
No. In fact, let's put it this way. When the question was asked by us over the summertime, individuals and certain individuals that we know said that they believe we were fourth or fifth, right? They said with the added additions, I could see us being a fourth or fifth seed in the East. They didn't say one. They didn't say two. They said fourth or fifth. Now, when the smoke clears, when the hype train dies down a little bit, we'll see exactly where we end up at the end of the season. But right now, this quickly, nobody saw us being number one. Nobody.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So let's go over, because we went over Wizards' schedule. Let's look at the team stats here. So again, we did just cover some of the other team stats. Actually, excuse me, let's talk about the individual stats. Okay. So no Bradley Beal. Again, tomorrow night, team's gonna be missing 23.3, 5 rebounds, 5 assists a game. But
no problem.
But that's no problem, right? No Bill, no problem. Why? Because Spencer Dinwiddie, in my opinion, who I think is the leader of this team, who plays more under control. Spencer Dinwiddie, by the way, has told people in a recent interview why you don't see him, as aggressive. And I think for those people who were putting his face on milk cartons, I think they finally got their answer. I'm glad they did, because I tried to tell people that it was all by design. I tried to tell people he was playing as a decoy. I was trying to tell people, at the end of the day, Dinwiddie knows exactly what he's doing. Hopefully that message has gotten across to people now. And I recently even said, the next time somebody asks you, where's Dinwiddie? Tell them he's not turning the ball over. That's what you tell him.
Yeah, he doesn't work for Pillsbury, so he ain't making no damn apple turnovers. That guy plays for the Lakers now.
You know what? I would love to make that a t-shirt. Like, as far as like the front saying, where's Dinwiddie? And then on the back saying, not turning the ball over. I would love for that to be a t-shirt. I would love it.
Hey, why not make it a t-shirt?
It's real. Hey, for real, my dude. I'm thinking about doing that. If anybody out there, if I see that t-shirt, I'm taking creds. I'm putting my name all over it. I'm crediting it right now.
I think you should go ahead and copyright that right now, bro.
Exactly.
Go ahead and copyright and trademark that. That way, if they do take it, hey, you can get some money.
Exactly. Wiz takes Dcan. Wiz takes said that. Next time somebody asks you where Dinwiddie, not turning the ball over.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, since I'm looking at these stats. So in the clutch moments of the game, when you look at these, you look at the individual stats, clutch moments in the game, a bucket is needed. Okay, we down by 1, and we need a bucket to win the game-winning shot. Who do you feel confident to take that game-winning bucket?
Let me tell you something. I said it already. There's a couple of guys on this team that can hit that shot down the stretch. Dinwiddie is my preferred choice. But Kuzma can hit that shot too. I believe that Dinwiddie option number 1, Kuzma option number 2.
Right. I think that's a fair assessment. Now, why you didn't pick Bradley Beal to be the one to take that shot?
Well, Bradley Beal turns the ball over too much. That's why. You know, if he wants to take the shot, all right, take the shot, but let somebody else create the opportunity for you to take the shot. Don't force your own opportunity to take the shot, because 9 times out of 10, and look, what I'm saying is not being hypercritical. What I'm saying is absolutely facts. He's already had a string of games this season where he's turned the ball over late in the game.
I mean, that's a fact, man. I mean, look at it. He's leading the team in turnovers. He's averaging 4.
That's what I'm saying. And
so it's no lies to it. So not to cut you. So I will say this. I agree with you. I would either prefer Dinwiddie or either KCP or Kuzma to take that shot. One, because I don't trust Bradley Beal to take that shot. He's shooting 25%, which is a career worst. And it was actually his 3-point percentage. I think at one point it got to like 31%. Now it's dipped back down to 25. So I feel more confident in somebody else taking that 3-point shot. That's the reason why we're saying, even though he's not playing tomorrow night, it's not necessary that he play. We're not missing him, because this team has gone 4-1 with him playing terrible, and so far we're 2-0 when he doesn't play. So, and these are facts. So it's not a situation where he's necessarily needed. The man can miss a whole week, and I don't think it's really going to stop us from putting up points. Some people think that, oh, well, we need him, but we really don't.
No, I mean, it's proof. It's proof already that, if we ever, to me, this is prerequisite information. Everything you're getting out this Wizard squad right now is what you need to know for the future's sake. If Bill ever decides to leave, we're good. If we ever decide to move on past Bill, we're good. We're good either way.
Right.
At the end of the day, the Wizards organization will have to make that decision if it's not Bradley Beal himself. They're going to have to make that decision. I think that they're more so hell-bent on the fact that they feel like they have to appease to him because they already made the decision to get rid of another franchise player. So by default, because you're the de facto leader, the organization feels like, well, we may have failed one guy, but we don't want to fail the other. And I personally think that, Tommy Shepard and Ted Leonsis both agree in nature that they want Bill to be successful with the team that they have orchestrated and built around him. But how I feel is that, Bill isn't worth the money that he could potentially make. And in my opinion, it only sets us back further if you start snowballing his contract, in a sense that you got to start thinking about other players. Like Kuzma is a free agent after the season.
Exactly.
KCP is a free agent. Montrez Harrell is a free agent. Okay. These are guys you're going to have to start thinking about. These are the guys that's helping you win right now.
So let me ask you that. Let's stay right there. So with those 3 players, I'm going to focus more so on Kuzma and Montrez Harrell, because KCP can be re-signed for cheap. What does a contract extension look like for a guy like Montrez Harrell, especially if he finished out 6th man of the year this season with us? What does a contract extension look like for him if he has that personal accolade?
Well, let's see. 12 games played. Let's go down the stat sheet, shall we? 12 games played, 64% from the field. All right, which I think that may be a career high for him.
Yeah.
All right. 84% from free throw.
I think that's a career.
That's a career high
for him too.
9 boards. I don't know if that's a career high, but I think it might be close.
It might be. Because that went down. He was averaging about 10 or 11, but that went down a little bit. But I think, the 18.3, that's got to be a career high.
That's a career high. I mean, so look, let me say this, man. In a contract year, based off of what he's doing right now, he deserves a max contract.
Okay.
I mean, look, I mean,
Okay.
do you beg to differ off of that? Because my thing is,
No, I don't.
what are we asking for from a guy who really never asked to be traded here to begin with, right? So the thing
Right.
is I think most fans are going to say, well, there's no way you can afford to pay Montrez upwards of $18 million. How I look at it,
You
these
know what, my
numbers,
dude?
yeah, go ahead.
Mm, I ain't mean to cut you off. So I'm looking at his last. I'm gonna go back to the 2017-2018 season. That season when he was with the Clippers, he was averaging 11 points a game. The next season, 18-19, he averaged 16.6. 19-20 season, 18.6. I'm sorry. So the 18-19 season, he averaged 16.6. Then he went to 18.6 the following season. Just this past season, 18.6 is what he averaged. When he was with the Lakers, he dropped down to 13.5. Right now, he's averaging 18.3.
You
So
said, hold on,
he's
you
only
said
been
his last year with the Clippers, what was his average?
his last year with the Clippers, he averaged 18.6.
Okay, so he's
And then
right
when
at
he
his
went to the
average.
Lakers, he's right at his average. Now his career average is 13 points per game, but he's been trending. He's been going like this each season that he's
Mm-hmm.
been in the league, except for that drop off as a Laker. And
Okay.
now he's at 18.3. He's going to his average. So when you talk about a guy like Montrez Harrell, you're probably going to have to pay him over $100 million because I don't think you can get away with paying him like what Davis Bertans is making. You're probably going to have to pay him over $100 million.
I agree.
I think he's going to command it, especially if he gets, six man of the year. Now the question is, can the Wizards afford to pay him that kind of money? When you think about you got to resign Rui Hachimura. I know most people probably prefer Rui Hachimura to get traded, which I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But when you got Rui Hachimura that's going to be up for a contract extension, you got Deni up for a contract extension. Kyle Kuzma and Montrez Harrell are going to possibly take up a nice portion of the salary cap. And then you got to factor this in because here's a part two of the question. What if Bradley Beal says the only way I'm going to resign is if you resign Kyle Kuzma and Montrez Harrell, then I'll stay with the Washington Wizards. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess. I mean, well, looking at this, Kyle Kuzma's contract doesn't expire next season. It actually expires after next season.
So it expires after next season.
Right.
So,
So
which I
it
didn't know. So, okay.
looks like they would have to go into some type of contract extension talks after the season.
Which that could be a possibility. And if you
Right.
think about it, that if the organization might take the attitude of, well, let's see you do that again in 2022, 2023. Let's see you duplicate that again. Now, what if he does? Now he's making 13 million. We all know if he puts up the same type of numbers he's putting up this season, the following season, you can't pay him 13 million going forward. He's going to be looking at anywhere between 20 to maybe even 30 million. Some people say, well, I don't believe that. Well, look at what Kyle Lowry is getting right now with the Miami Heat.
Right.
He got a 3-year deal for $99 million. So you can't sit and say that that's not possible.
So that's the thing. So, like, all right. So going back to what you said, right? If we paid Trez $100 million, that would be 25 million a year spread out for 4 years. In my opinion, that's worth it based off of what he's doing now for the Wizards. Now, if he has a drop off in the second half of the season, obviously that number takes a dip. I think he's anywhere between 80 million and $100 million. So, with that said, you look at this salary structure. You got Thomas Bryant's contract coming off the books after this year. You got Aaron Holiday going into I believe that's qualifying offer after the season.
Yeah.
You got Howell Neto coming off the books.
He's still in his rookie deal.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So 9 times out of 10, the Wizards, depending on what happens with Aaron Holiday this season, the Wizards will pick up that qualifier. Actually, they probably are. I think they already have. That's why it's green there. So they may have already done that.
Right.
So anyway, Howell Neto comes off the books. Anthony Gill comes off the books. So you're probably looking at, because I mean, based off of Thomas Bryant, Howell Neto, Anthony Gill, I mean, that's not that much money to work with. That's like $10 million, $11 million. I thought KCP was coming up, but his doesn't expire until after next season as well.
Right.
So looks like Trez is the only one, and Howell Neto are the only two names, in my opinion, that we would be targeting re-signing this offseason. But man, I gotta admit, if there's any way possible to get Trez under a contract, man, I think we'd be sitting at the Eastern Conference, sitting at the top of the Eastern Conference again for the next several years.
Well, let me tell you what most people will probably say to make that happen. They're going to say, move Davis Bertans' contract. They're going to probably say, go ahead and just admit that you made a bad choice in selecting Rui Hachimura, trade him away. I don't agree with that, but I know that the average Wizards fan would say, get rid of him. And they probably would say, don't re-sign Neto because he's only owed $2 million. So let him walk. But more so moving Davis Bertans' contract and possibly moving Rui Hachimura is the way they're going to look at it. Like, well, that's how you be able to have the money to keep Montrez Harrell. But again, when we talk about moving Davis Bertans and Rui Hachimura, I'm just so anti moving Rui Hachimura, which is going to lead me to something else that I'm seeing, this narrative that I addressed the last time, the whole Jason Tatum thing. But still, how do we really, like, some of these guys that we have, we're not going to be able to retain some of these guys. I think what's going to be key is if Montrez Harrell gets $6 million a year, you're going to have to pay him pretty much. You're going to have to overpay for Montrez Harrell. You're going to have to if you want to keep him. You're going to probably have to pay him more than you really want to pay him. And that's why I said, well, what does that look like? You're probably looking at, I think it's going to probably be maybe a little bit more than 20. Maybe it might be 25 million.
Well, no, I can't see that. I can't see no more than 25 mil. In fact, I would say that 25 is actually the max that I would be willing to pay Trez. I think 25 would be the max. But here's my thing. I agree with Bertans, but I disagree on Rui, and I disagree on Howell Neto, because Howell Neto is already a steal at $2 million.
Agreed.
I mean, look, it's no question that he does all of the little things for us. He actually makes us better when guys like Beal are out, or if Dinwiddie's struggling, or if some guys are just not hitting their shots. That guy's a ball of energy off the bench, man, flat out. So, in my opinion, what you do is you definitely move Davis Bertans' contract to retain Trez, no doubt about it. $16 million. There's any way that you can find a team that's willing to take on that contract, make it happen. But 16 mil, 8 million with Thomas Bryant's contract falling off the books, he's not retained. You let him walk. You got Anthony Gill's contract. Again, that's about 10, and then 16. There's your 26 mil right there. There's your 25, 26 mil right there.
Here's where I do think that you can keep a Montrez Harrell. Look at the very bottom under the word more. Look at that one key note at the bottom.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people fail. I think a lot of people fail to realize that, and you and I have spoken about this. Dinwiddie, really, his 2 years with us is guaranteed, but that third year is only partially guaranteed. Only 10 million of it is guaranteed. So the Wizards could possibly look at re-signing Montrez Harrell within that 23-24 season, as to, well, we might just move Spencer Dinwiddie because his contract will become appealing to a team that wants to kind of get under the book, under the salary cap, because only 10 million of it is guaranteed. So that could play a factor in as well. So we're saying anywhere between 20 to 25 million for Montrez Harrell. I think we both agree on that. What do you think when it comes to Kyle Kuzma? Because of course he's getting 13 million now, and he's going to get it next season. Next season is going to be key. If he's putting up these same numbers next season, we know that 13 million is probably not going to be enough to keep him here. I mean, let's be for real. The taxes in the DC area is sky high. So what do you think a Kyle Kuzma contract would look like?
Can't be no higher than
definitely LA. Can't be no higher than it. Can't be no higher than LA. But if his ass live in VA with all them, property taxes, that we got to factor that in, especially when you got a new governor like Youngkin. But anyway, but then again, he's in that percentile, so he ain't got to worry about it. But what does a contract for Kyle Kuzma look like? That top 2%, so he ain't got to worry about that. What does a Kyle Kuzma contract extension look like?
I'll be honest with you. Here's the tough part. Look at Deni. Look at Deni after that. Deni is after next season is going to be up for a contract extension because he has a team option. All right.
Yeah. Which leads to an interesting problem.
That's very interesting because here's my thing. That $6 million team option ain't guaranteed. That's negotiations. So if Deni's team feels that Deni is worth more than $6 million, if I'm not mistaken, based off the team option, he could request more than $6 million. That's why it's in the red. You have that green because that green is a qualifier. So let's just say, for example, if he plays, No,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's just say he plays, above his potential after next season, and he's a two-way player, and you're looking at it like, man, this dude is, tops defensively, tops offensively. He's now rounding himself out. You're gonna have to start thinking about at that point, what can we do to afford Deni going forward, along with Kuzma, because that's a bad problem to have at the same time. Like, okay, Kuzma may very well Kuzma right now is $13 million a season. If he keeps playing the way that he's playing, obviously he's going to be commanding anywhere upwards of 20 million and up.
Yeah.
So I personally don't know how we would afford him, how we would afford a new deal under Deni, unless Denny's willing to take a hometown discount. And how Neto, like I said, what does his new deal look like? Does he keep signing these 1-year deals, or what? Like, we don't know what 2024 really looks like.
Well, here's what I will say when it comes down to Hal Neto. You could probably keep him with the kind of contract that Tomas Satoransky got from Chicago. It didn't really cost Chicago that much to sign Tomas. So I think, if to retain Hal Neto, you probably can get him for maybe about 3 years for 30 million, 10 million a season. I don't think that's a lot of money. But here's what I will say. Montrez Harrell and Kyle Kuzma is going to cause the Wizards to make a decision on going for the now or going for the future.
I agree with that.
And that's going to be Rui Hachimura and Deni Avdija.
I agree.
Those are because what that means, if you retain those two guys, that means you're telling Rui Hachimura and Deni Avdija, your time here as a Washington Wizard is up.
Right.
And this is a problem that I think we're going to be facing come this offseason, because I do believe Bradley Beal will use that as a bargaining chip for him to stay. I'll stay if you retain those two guys. That means Rui Hachimura and Deni Avdija will be on the outside looking in. I don't agree with that, but I'm not the general manager.
So
I'm not.
I agree with you. And you know what? You bring up a great point because it's around the same time these guys' contracts are going to be up.
Exactly.
You know, around the same time they're going to be talking about contract extensions and, you know, the direction of the team. You know, Bradley Bill's new extension is going to kick in at 2023, 2024.
Right.
So all of this makes sense because of the timing. And in my opinion, you know, the win now is predicated off of this season.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens this season is going to pretty much tell us what the future is going to look like. Because Kuzma has to continue playing this way.
Right.
Montrez has to continue to play this way.
Right.
These guys have no choice. It's almost like, you know, it's either you play that way or you're out in Washington and you're going somewhere else, either at the deadline or after the season.
Right.
So
because these guys are in their primes right now.
Right.
They're just now entering their prime. So if you look, so here for Wizards fans, let's just break it down in this way. Gafford just got his extension. So we know what that means. Thomas Bryant is on his way out. Okay. Now, when you get Montrez Harrell, you sign him to an extension. That also pushes Thomas Bryant out because Thomas Bryant is not going to get the backup role. That's done. That's going to be Montrez Harrell's job. But it's also going to predicate going into Rui Hachimura because he's going to be up for an extension after the 2022-2023 season. Now, depending on how the way things were, whatever promises were made, Rui's camp could probably say, you know what, let's just have this divorce because obviously you've already made your decision which direction you want to go in. But then if you resign Kyle Kuzma, let's say if you start having this conversation with him this offseason, hey, we're going to retain you for an additional 3-4 more years. And let's say it's somewhere between $20 to $23 million a season. Then you're telling Deni Avdija, your time is up. You got to go because we've already got, you know, the small forward that we depend on.
Well,
we don't really have time to wait for your offense to match with your defense.
Well, yeah,
because it's going to the win now situation. Because it's that. Because if you think about it, with Bill wanting to say he wants to do everything here, it's more win now, let's get it done. We don't really have time to wait for Deni and Rui to develop and Corey Kispert to develop. We ain't got really time to wait for those guys, but we definitely don't have time to wait for Deni and Rui. Let's get it done now because if you don't, I'm out of here.
So that brings me to something else that I was just thinking about. It would explain why Deni has a team option at 2023. Because in my opinion, it's probably easier for the team to say at that point, hey, this guy's either worth $6 million or more, or he's not. So Deni time frame is shorter than, say, Rui, for example, because Rui's up for a qualifier before Deni is. So Deni, there's more of a stipulation on Deni than Rui. So Deni has to improve now and do now because of the sake of guys like Kuzma and Trez, right? Those guys add way more pressure for somebody like Deni than they do Rui. Because based off of this number here, based off of that team option, that's what speaks right there, 2023. So essentially they're telling Deni, you got one more year to prove whether or not you belong on this team in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Or else our option is going to decline. And you'll have to seek out services somewhere else, a team somewhere else.
Not to cut you off, you know who else is in that same boat with him? Corey Kispert,
exactly.
He's in that same boat.
Right. Now the timeline makes sense because Kispert
got two of those, to be honest with you. Not to cut you off, he got 2 years to do it.
Yeah, and remember I told you I thought that Corey Kispert would be okay based off of these numbers. It don't look like it if he ain't contributing right away. Now, granted, in the
Yeah, if you
past,
look at it, not to
and
cut
hold
you
on,
off.
let
Hmm.
me make this point,
Go ahead, go ahead.
and don't forget what you was about to say. But in the past, the Wizards normally pick these options up. But if the Wizards start this win now attitude, they put these contracts in place to make that decision by the time they've given themselves a 2-year win now window. So 2023, 2024 is either we build for the future, we pick up the options of Deni, we pick up the option of Kispert, and we go in a different direction. We get rid of Bill, we're in a different direction. Rui's up for a qualifier. 2023, 2024, we're now a go on life after Bill. But if we're in win now, 2023, 2024 says bye-bye Kispert, bye-bye Deni, and Rui, possibly bye-bye. So based off of these numbers here, the timeline of events, that's what that's telling me. So it looks like we're on a 2-year window between now and that time, whether or not we're going to start focusing on the future or we're in a win now state. And like I told you before, my dude, Trez and Kuz is making it very hard for guys like Deni and Rui, and now, yeah, throw in Kispert, throw in the guys that we just drafted, because that's the window that the Wizards organization has given these guys to show which direction we should go in.
There's one more player too that it makes it uncomfortable for as well. That's Isaiah Todd. Because the 24-25 season, he either got to be where he needs to be or else he's going to be on his way out. And it ain't going to hurt the Wizards organization. So if Deni and Rui are gone by that time, and let's say Kispert is, packaged, Isaiah Todd is there. If Kuzma and Montrez Harrell have been retained, and let's keep it real, by that time, those guys will be, let me see, 24, 25. So Kuzma should be about, like, these guys will probably be like 29, 30. If they're not, if Isaiah Todd is not where he should be at that time, the Wizards will continue to keep going on with the pace of let's win now. And we'll go ahead and move on with Isaiah Todd. It ain't going to be no big deal because he was a second round draft choice.
Right.
So now what we're looking at is that the young guys really really have a short leash when so young players that are drafted by the Wizards have a shorter leash than what
the guys that we're
and
trading
what Bill had when it came in.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. So that is definitely, when you look at these numbers and you look at this salary structure, that's exactly what it's telling you. And it's telling the story. It really is. When you look at these numbers, it's telling the story without a doubt. So let's move on. So I wanted to touch on real quick. We'll make this real quick. Deni's improvement.
Mm-hmm.
How impressed are you with Deni being one of the top defenders, the top defender in the NBA right now? He's at a 96.3 defensive rating. The only other two players in NBA history overall in their careers, and I want to say Gar Hurd is up there too. I think he was like somewhere 95%. But that's for their careers, okay? Deni right. is doing this in a stretch of 11 games, but that tells you how elite that number is. How impressed are you with Deni in the start?
I'm very impressed. I didn't actually see that. When he was drafted, his defense was what was questioned. So he's worked on that, and a lot of that, kudos to Wes Unseld Jr. again, having the confidence and the faith and the trust and allowing him to develop. And I think as time goes, his offense is going to catch up with his defense. So we just got finished talking about the contract situation. It's going to be a fun battle to watch him showing his worth as a Washington Wizard. I think he's not going to go down without fighting to show that he deserves a long-term extension. Once his offense matches his defense, we're talking about a two-way player here. And I think he's very capable of being a two-way player. Keep in mind, he's only 20. So I think it's just bound to happen. I like what I'm seeing out of Deni. I didn't expect him to do this. He's basically a shutdown defender in so many words. He played very good defense against Giannis. Last season was Rui. Now this season is Deni. So we're seeing something from these draft picks. So maybe the whole trade Deni for this player and that player, maybe that conversation can stop.
Man, look, I'm telling you, it's absolutely nuts the amount of rumors that spread on social media about trading Rui, trading these players for that player. I mean, the rumor mill we make up. No one else makes that up. We make that up. And so to me, I think that's where it gets just out of hand. But how I feel about Deni right now, my dude, it's this simple. Deni is a product of his environment.
Right.
Right now, Wes Unseld Jr., what he's doing with these boys is just remarkable stuff. Deni is a product of Wes Unseld Jr. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Brooks, he was drafted under Scott Brooks, but he's not a product of Scott Brooks. He's a product of Wes Unseld Jr.
Exactly.
So Wes Unseld Jr. from day one has stressed that he's expecting players to fulfill certain assignments and certain defensive assignments. And so Deni, being the young player that he is, he's taking on that role and he's taking on that challenge full steam ahead. And he's doing exactly what Wes Unseld Jr. wants him to do. Exactly. And so with that said, yeah, it's surprising, but it just goes to show you what this kid's capable of when given opportunities. And right now he's working on his 3-ball. He's been hitting that shot. He's definitely getting in the passing lanes. He's bodying up. I mean, man, he's a potential two-way player. And to me, it's like we're talking about Rui when Rui's not playing, but you see the potential in Rui, you see the potential in Deni. I mean, there's no telling where these two guys are going to be 5, 6, 7 years from now. If Deni's doing this now at his age, imagine what Deni's going to be doing for us 5 or 6, 7 years from now. Rui doing what he did last season at his age, imagine what Rui is going to be doing 6 or 7 years from now for us. So, to me, that's why I don't entertain the nonsense, because I know for a fact these people don't watch Wizards hoops. They're not paying attention to what we're paying attention to. Ain't no way. Because you wouldn't be making these statements.
Of course not.
Yeah, you wouldn't be making these statements if you was.
Yeah, I think it's dumb. To see the countless people, Wizards Twitter, talking about Tatum to DC. Let me say this, man. Boston is not going to choose Marcus Smart over Jason Tatum. He's 24 years old. And I haven't heard real Celtics fans saying that they want him out of here. If anything, they're probably regurgitating the same thing that a lot of Wizards fans are saying. Get this man help. Get him help.
Who are you following where you see this all the time? Because I'm
seeing this crap from some Wizards fans. I saw what a Celtics fan said. I'm trying to remember which particular Wizards fan on Twitter that actually posted it up. I don't want to say Bullets Forever was one of those guys, but I'm seeing it where people are constantly posting this up. And I'm like, stop it. Stop doing this. We've been down this rabbit hole before with the whole KD to DC thing. It's not going to happen. Boston is not going to do that. I don't want to see no more. Well, let's get rid of Deni and Rui. We just got finished. These guys' potential is sky high. Sky high. These guys are young. Can you imagine if a team like the Memphis Grizzlies was saying, oh, well, let's trade Ja Morant for Damian Lillard? Do you see how sky high Ja Morant's potential is? Do you see what this guy is doing? You want to give that up for a player that right now that can win you ball games? Maybe right now. Stick with the potential.
Right.
Let's see what we have. If you guys who don't want to turn the page from Bradley Beal, if you ain't willing to turn the page from Bradley, why the hell are you willing to turn the page from Rui Hachimura and Deni?
Exactly. You gave Bill 10 years. 10 years. Okay. So Rui's next up. Give him 10 years. Deni, next up. Give him 10 years. Give them the same thing you gave Bill. It's just that simple. I mean, and I'm just gonna leave it there. My thing is Deni is doing absolutely a phenomenal job. Like, he's exceeding expectations. I did not see this out of him this season. He doesn't necessarily need to be an all-out great offensive threat. Right now, he's doing it just by being on the floor defensively. And man, kudos to Deni, man. Absolutely kudos to Deni. He deserves the respect. He deserves to be recognized and appreciated for his efforts, his defensive efforts. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings me to my last thing. Let's talk about Wes Unseld Jr.
Okay.
The credit that Wes Unseld Jr. should get for this start and how well this team has played this season.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the people who are kind of looking past the fact that they're not giving Wes Unseld Jr. his flowers early on?
Oh man, he did. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't see why you don't give it to him. I mean, the team wouldn't be 9-3 if it wasn't for Wes Unseld Jr. The moment he was hired on, if you look at his press conference, he told you what he was going to do to this team. He told you what he was expecting from the players. That he was going to hold them accountable. He hasn't steered away from it. He said, if I have to interject, then there's a problem. So far, he didn't have to do that. We're 9-3, but he's saying, hey, we're not looking at the record. We're not paying attention to the record. Basically, he's still saying there's a lot more work to be done. Let's not focus on the record and get too excited. This is a work in progress. I have to respect that because that's the mindset that I'm taking. Right now it's a honeymoon stage. We're doing well. And of course, as fans, we're not used to this. But he's basically telling everybody to pump the brakes. I'm just getting started, okay? And all I did was I just put the ingredients in the cake. It's in the oven and it's cooking. You smelling it. It smells good. But wait till it comes. When it's finished, then we can go ahead and dive in. So Wes Unseld Jr. and the coaching staff deserves all the credit. This is the reason why we're talking about Deni. Deni wouldn't be who he is if it wasn't for Wes Unseld Jr. believing in him and giving him the confidence. Deni didn't have that last year. When Rui comes back and he's playing, Rui is going to have the confidence and the faith coming out of Wes Unseld Jr. that he didn't get last season, that he didn't get his first 2 years here. So absolutely the credit should go to Wes Unseld Jr. It shouldn't go to anybody else. It should definitely go to him.
I agree 100%. Wes Unseld Jr. deserves all of the praise, all of the credit. There's not one single player on this team that is doing what they're doing without Wes Unseld Jr., period. People are thinking, oh, well, why doesn't this player get this credit? Or why shouldn't that player get credit? Look, I'm here to tell you guys, if Dinwiddie doesn't have to be aggressive every game, that's coaching. If Trez is playing at his absolute best and he has career high numbers, that's coaching. If Bradley Beal doesn't have to give you 30 and we still win, That's coaching. If Bill
That's
doesn't
coaching.
have to suit up and play and we win, that's coaching. I mean, do I need to continue?
No, I mean, it is coaching. I mean, at the end of the day, like you stated, you don't see that much of a drop off when a particular player does not play. Bradley Beal didn't play last night. We won the game. If he's not playing tomorrow night, we'll most likely win the game.
Next man up mentality.
Next man up mentality. If we lose tomorrow night, it's not going to be because we were missing 23 points. It's going to be more so that the players that was out there didn't execute what Wes Unseld Jr. told them to execute.
Exactly. They're not doing exactly what is expected.
They're not doing what he's supposed to, what he's telling them to do.
Right.
That's going to be the reason for that. It's no more of the, I'm glad that it's no more of the, okay, well, we don't have John Wall, so we're in trouble. Or Bradley Beal is not playing, so we're in trouble. It was always more so when John Wall didn't play, we were in trouble.
Right.
Now he's not here. It's Bradley Beal here. But now we can kill the narrative, okay, well, without Bradley Beal, this team is in trouble. That's not true because we're 2-0 when he doesn't suit up. And we're 4-1 when he's suiting up and he's playing piss poor.
So, I mean, I know you wanted to dive into that, and I'll let you.
I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that.
Okay. All right. I mean, I knew you wanted to address it.
Yeah.
My thing is, Bradley Beal, we know who he is as a basketball player. We know what we're getting out of him at this point. And we know what his role is. The problem is that you have fans out here who want to believe that his role is bigger than what it actually is. And they try to make it more than what it actually is. And you know what? That's actually my problem. My problem is why can't you guys just allow Bill to be one of the greatest role players that's ever suited up in Wizards history? Like why can't you guys just let that happen?
I got an answer for that. Because that's not what he wants to be known as. He doesn't want to be known as a great role player. He thinks he's better than what he is. So the fans who are his apologists believe as such. Hey, he said that he can do this. He said he can do that. He said he's the leader. You saying Spencer Dinwiddie is the leader, but most of Wiz Nation, or should I say the Bill apologists, would beg to differ. At the end of the day, just look at the data this season, man. The numbers tells you exactly that we don't necessarily need him to go out there and be dominant on the court. He has not really been, he's only been dominant with maybe once or twice so far this season. We don't need him to do that anymore.
Can I say something?
He's not playing. Go ahead.
Let me make this point, and then we can wrap this up, and I'll let you make your final point. Look at Kuz, Trez, and Dinwiddie. Look at where they came from, and look at who they are here. They're stars. They're rock stars. They're the best thing that's ever happened to Washington, D.C.
What's that saying that you always say?
There's somebody here, nobody anywhere else.
There you go.
So take what I'm about to say and really grasp it, okay? Kuz, Trez, and Dinwiddie all were just players elsewhere. They came here and now they're turning into rock stars. They're turning into players that we absolutely need for this franchise, that we look at as core players, right? Bradley Beal, if you take him out of this scenario here in Washington, D.C., and if he replaced Kuz, if he replaced Trez, if he replaced Dinwiddie, I promise you, he would not be the same player elsewhere that he is here. It's literally that simple. The logic is that simple. Okay? So to think that Dinwiddie couldn't do what Bill did last year on a team where stats were inflated because you played alongside of a guy who was up tempo, he pushed tempo, if Dinwiddie played alongside of Russell Westbrook, hey, he's getting more opportunities to shoot the ball. So why wouldn't Dinwiddie average a career high in points? Why wouldn't you start seeing Dinwiddie at 26, 27 points per game? Why wouldn't you start seeing certain guys have more opportunity to score the basketball under a Scott Brooks system that doesn't preach defense? Why wouldn't you start seeing those numbers go up? You would. You absolutely would. Those guys would be great, just like Bill was last season under Scott Brooks. Those guys would be just as equally great under Scott Brooks. But you see now that we're more focused on defense, you see that we're more team-oriented. Guess what? Bill isn't averaging what Steph Curry averages now. Those numbers fell all the way back. He had to take that all in now at this point and say to himself, wow, there's another portion of my game that I have to worry about. And that's actually being a good defender. Guess what, Bradley Beal? You're right. That was something we was criticizing you for so long. That your apologists and the people who support you, they wasn't trying to hold that candle and hold that stick next to you and say, hey, Bradley Beal, this is what we expect out of you as a leader. You see what I'm saying? Now these things are starting to come to light because we have a coach who was holding Bradley Beal accountable of that. So guess what? You're starting to see Bradley Beal be a better defender. You're starting to see us win games when Bradley Beal doesn't have to score 30. Wow. Amazing. Who'd ever thought that was possible? You can raise your hand too, bro. Because we've been saying this for years.
I got both of them raised.
We've been saying this for years. So, just let Bradley Beal be a great role player. Let him be a great, just let him be a great guy. Just let him be a great teammate. But to sit here and put him in a class of like superstars, man, I mean, come on, man. Who are we fooling? If Bradley Beal's on the Nets, man, is he the third or the fourth option on the Nets? Maybe the third. I mean, that's pending if Kyrie is there. But let's just say if Bill's on the Nets. Let's say if Bill replaced Dinwiddie on the Nets. Is Bill the first, second, third, or the fourth option?
It's probably the third option. If Kyrie's playing, he's the fourth.
Okay, that's what I was getting to. Okay. Bill on the Lakers. Let's say he replaces Kuzma or Trez. Is he the first, second, third, or the fourth option?
With Westbrook there?
With Westbrook there.
And Carmelo?
Put everybody on the team that's on the team now.
Let me ask you this question. Would he be even starting?
Well, the Lakers would start him. Yeah, they would start him. But my thing is
where would he be at? Maybe third option at best. Third option. Because they would most likely make Westbrook be the fourth.
Well, what? I agree with that because Russell Westbrook deferred to Bradley Beal last year when he was here.
All in all, what we're saying is here, he's the man. Anywhere else, he's just a man.
Exactly.
So, as I've said before, Bradley Beal in reality is Ray Allen when he went to the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. But he doesn't want to go to another team where he would have to be in that role. So it's better for him to stay here in Washington where he could be Ray Allen with the Milwaukee Bucks and Ray Allen with the Supersonics. But in reality, for you folks out here, you wouldn't be saying let's call the man Brandon. You wouldn't be saying Jason Tatum to DC if you felt confident enough that Bill could do it by himself. So the reason why you want Jason Tatum here, because you want somebody on the same level of style of play as Bradley Beal, on the same level of stardom as Bradley Beal. But really, you're going to have two players that are in two teams where maybe they're not as good as advertised. So is Jason Tatum, who's supposed to be the face of the franchise of the Boston Celtics, or do they need to move him somewhere else where he would probably be a man somewhere else, which most likely would be if he came here, he would just be a man. You have two guys who are complementary players being forced to be something that they're really not.
Right, right.
And I think it's unfair to make Bradley Beal out to be this Steph Curry type or Devin Booker type or any other player or even a Damian Lillard type. I don't give a damn what he says. In reality, he's not on that level.
Right. Right.
So here's what I will say, to, we can end it this way. MVP Bill, it's not going to happen this year. It's just not going to happen. He said he wanted to be MVP. It's not happening. Montrez Harrell's name has been in that MVP tracker. I'm seeing it more so from him than Bradley Beal. You can't be an MVP when you're shooting 25% from three-point range. Can't be MVP when you're turning the ball over 4 times.
The numbers
aren't there. You can't be MVP when you're shooting 40% from the field.
Right. The numbers aren't there. The numbers aren't there that support MVP talk.
If we're not impacted by him not playing, then that doesn't mean he's an MVP. He's not an MVP. We don't lose ball games when he don't play. You take Giannis away from the Bucks, they sorry.
Right. Simple as that.
You pull Bill off the team, we're not sorry. We're winning games still.
Simple as that.
That's just a fact.
Well, that concludes this episode of State of the Wizards. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing love. Once again, share, like, subscribe, drop a comment. Please reach out to us if you want to network. You guys want to, be a guest on the show or even want a shout out. Please reach out to us. Let us know. We will check you guys out on the next episode of State of the Wizards, or check us out on the next episode of State of the Wizards. And we'll see you guys at that time. Let's go Wizards 9-3. Let's go 10-3 with a win against the Pelicans.